意味はある。意義もね。大義ですらある。無理に決まってんだろ。君にならできるだろう、サトル。君は五条悟だから最強なのか、最強だから五条悟なのか。生き方は決めた。あとは自分にできることを精一杯やるさ。獄門橋開門。や、サトル。は
Before the video starts, about 96% of you guys are not subscribed. Subscribing and clicking that notification bell does help me out and a lot in doing what I really want to do. Thank you guys so much for all the support. What's going on, guys? TCG. Y'all voted. I'm answering. This is going to be Orcust Runick. This is going to be an updated in-paper version. Here we are. There's a lot of cool stuff with this deck. It's not necessarily as budget as the typical Orcust Cartesia deck. However, it is a lot more, I believe, flexible due to the Runick cards. However, the playstyle, again, because of the Runick cards, is going to be completely different comparative to the Orcust deck that I've been showing off previously. This deck is really more of a control style Orcust deck, where you really need to be making heads-up decisions early on in the duel that will really affect what's going to be going on later. But that's not the answer for me. Let's get to the profile. Alright, first off on the main deck, we are on triple yugioh the Orcust Mekk-Knight. Starting off our Orcust on normal or special, it will dump an Orcust or World Legacy card from your deck to the grave. And then if it's the only monster that you have on your side of the field, you can put a token on both players' side of the field. So it lets you make a Galatea and such. So of course we're going to be playing 3 of that. It's one of our best normal summons in the deck. We are on double copies of Orcust Nightmare. We can play a lot heavier Orcusts in this deck, but just because of the Runick cards, Hugin being able to discard any of our Orcusts in order to search a card is very powerful. So we're on double Nightmare. Nightmare in the Grave allows you to banish it, target a card on the field. It gains attack equal to the level of a card that you're going to dump from your grave. That's a Dark Machine. And that's it. And then you're dark locked. All the Orcusts will dark lock you when you use their graveyard effects. We're on double Symbol Skeleton. Symbol Skeleton lets you banish it from the grave to target an Orcust in your grave to special summon it, and then you're dark locked for the rest of the turn. And then we are on our newly unbanned Orcust Harport. Special, you can banish that card from the grave to special summon any Orcust from the deck except for itself. Good thing we can't special summon itself. But this can basically summon yugioh, which can then dump anything, which is very nice. And then lastly, we are on one World Wand in order to special summon any banished Orcust monster to our side of the field while this card's in the graveyard. And this also dark locks you even though it's not named an Orcust card. That's it for our Orcust monsters. Now on to our Orcust spell traps. We are on one Orchestrated Babble. This lets all our Orcusts act as quick effects and can recur itself from the grave if we do choose to change field spells or it gets removed. We have one Orchestrated Return since we are playing a high density of Orcusts. This gives just a draw spell that lets us put an Orcust in grave, which is very nice. And then we are on one Orcust Crescendo. We are going to be using Orcust Crescendo a lot more than we are going to be using it in the other versions of the deck, because sometimes we are going to be wanting Fountain Up instead of our Babble. It just depends on hands, like I mentioned at the start of the video. So Crescendo is going to be seeing a lot more use in this variant than it would be in others. That's it for our main deck Orcusts. Now on to our Cartesia and Branded Engine. We are on one Guiding Quem the Virtuous. This is the most expensive singular necessary card of the deck. It's the entire reason you want to play the Runick engine is because Quem is technically a one-card full Orcust combo as long as you have another Runick card in hand to special summon a Hugin. So Quem is just incredibly powerful. I only personally own one, that's why I'm only playing one. Just so y'all are wondering, it's not the most optimal ratio, but you can get away with one. Because it is searchable with Brandon and High Spirit and such. However, I would recommend running 2 of these or 3 of them. We don't really want to run too many cards that can get ashed and such in this deck, but Quem is just an incredibly strong card and can even trigger on your opponent's turn in order to do your combo on their turn. So that's why we are running this. Would love to run more, but I just don't have the financial capabilities for that. We are on double blazing, not double. We are on triple blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. This is the main card of our Cartesia Orcust deck prior. However, Quem can dump the Cartesia and then special summon it all by itself. So if we do run 2 Quem, we should be running 2 Cartesia. So we should make sure this is always going to be at a 4 ratio all the way around, just so we can keep the Orcust the main portion of the deck, while also retaining all the availability to interact with our opponents with our Runick cards. If we go way too deep onto the Cartesia engine by adding more Quems and Cartesias and really maxing out, we're really allowing ourselves to brick and to end up with hands that are really not as playable as we would like. So that's the reasoning for the why we're only playing 4 monsters for the Cartesia engine. As I mentioned, we are playing Branded and High Spirit. Unlike our previous Orcust build, where our Bestials were the only cards that really couldn't translate into our Cartesia engine, every single card in our deck does translate into the Cartesia engine. So it's a little bit of a different story now. So Branded and High Spirits is gotten a lot more powerful comparative to the other deck. That's it for our Branded engine. We're not playing Titaniclad, we're not playing the Bestials this time, just because the Runick cards are supposed to fill our interaction spots in the deck instead of the Bestials being more generic and being able to affect more decks, such as the fire decks in the format, where Bestials can't really touch them as much. Now, onto our Runicks. We are on double Runick Fountain. We can only play 2. This card lets us activate the Runicks from our hand as quick effects. And when you activate a Runick spell on resolution, you can shuffle up to 3 from your grave into your deck and then draw that many cards, which is very powerful in refilling your hand with Runick cards and interaction. We are playing Runick Tip. All Runick's cards have 2 effects, one being the primary effect, which skips your battle phase. Next we are on triple Runick Tip. This card is the Searcher, but all Runick cards will have the effect after you activate it, you skip your next battle phase. So you do have to keep that in mind when activating them on your opponent's turn and such, knowing you're not going to get a battle phase, which is a lot of what happens with the decision making in this deck. Good luck with the decision making in this deck. Good thing though is the Orcust really do fill out the interaction portion of the deck and are able to really close out the game quick with their Dingirsus just being able to slap them on board and such. So we are really looking to one-shot our opponents when we have the opportunity to. We are on triple Runick Freezing Curses. This one is a monster negation one. Again, you can skip the battle phase, and all the Runick cards have the secondary effect to special summon a Runick monster from your extra deck to the extra monster zone. They also do on their main effect, like the searching, not the searching one, like on the, damn. All the Runicks on their main effect, they will also have an additional effect to banish cards off the top of your opponent's deck. They're going to be varying amounts, like 1, 2, 3, and such. But it does let you sniff out what your opponent's cooking and potentially remove some of their combo pieces. Sometimes you can help them, like against Blue Underees. You can really help them by banishing their birds. However, that is just a part of the matchup where this deck doesn't really have a good blue matchup in the slightest. So that's why I could see this deck not necessarily performing as great in this upcoming format, because blue is looking quite good. We are on triple Runick Flashing Fire. You can target a special summon monster your opponent controls and destroy it, and then you can manage the top 2 cards of their deck, or you can summon a Runick monster from your extra deck. All the Runick cards are really going to have that again, so you can always special summon that Hugin to trigger your Quem. We are on double Runick Slumber. This is a protection card. allowing you to target a face-up monster on the field and prevent it from being destroyed by a battle or card effect this turn. If it's not destroyed, then it can't be attacked this turn. And then your opponent banishes with the top 3 of their deck. This card is here to both protect our cards, as well as fill our graveyard with Runick cards for the Runick Fountain in order to get extra advantage. We are on 1 copy of Runick Dispelling. This says when your opponent adds a card from their deck to the hand, except during the draw phase, discard 1 random card from their hand, and then manage the top 2 cards from their deck. A lot of this format is searching and adding and such, so just being able to randomly rip a card out of your opponent's hand, banishing some cards, and getting another Runick card in grave isn't all too bad, because all these Runick cards are modal, so they can all summon Hugin, so even if their first effect isn't fantastic, they're utility. So it allows the deck to be a lot more flexible, as I was saying. And then lastly, in the main, we are playing 1 Runick Destruction. This is spell trap removal. We're playing more in the side deck. We don't really want to be maining them, just because they are matchup dependent, really, because not all decks play with spells and traps, but we are siding the other ones. That is it for our Runick cards. Now, onto our Handtraps. For Handtraps, we are on Triple Droll and Lockbird. Being a spellcaster, so we can search our Quem. And then we are on a Triple Effect Veiler, also being a hand trap, so we can search Quem. Unfortunately, remember how I mentioned that Blue wasn't a really good matchup for this deck? This really means it's not a good matchup. If you get de-shifted, these are dead. Unfortunately, comparative to the other version of the deck, the Bestial one, this deck loses way harder to de-shifter. Way harder than the other deck already lost. Like, the other deck lost a de-shifter. This one loses way harder. So that's one of the downsides of this version of the deck. However, again, you do get to have more flexibility. And then the last cards of the deck are just 2 powerful spells. We're on 1 Foolish Burial in order to send any of our Orcust, and 1 Called by the Grave to hopefully get that de-shifter out of the grave. And that's it for our main. Now, onto our extra. For links, we're on link 1 of Link Karibo for our Gearsu token. We're on 1 IP Masquerena because that's the Orcust special. We're on 1 SP Little Knight because this is the format Superstar. We are on double Galatea, the Orcust Automaton, in order to both make Dingirsu and to grab our spells and traps from our deck. Do keep in mind, please, that if this guy is pointed at anything, this guy can't be destroyed by battle. So keep that in mind. Doesn't just have to be your cards, your opponent cards too. Play to your strengths. You really have to outbrain your opponent playing this deck, because you need to be trying to think 2 steps ahead all the time. Speaking of linked, we're on 1 Longirsu in order to send cards to the graveyard. And then lastly for links, we are on 1 Nightmare Unicorn. No access code talker today. We did need that spot for the Runick cards, so no access code. However, our extra deck is full of removal and ways to build our board. A lot of these cards aren't small, and Orcust Nightmare in the grave actually can help us close out games. If we have a World Want in deck, we can always give a card 800 attack. That's it for our links. Now onto our XEs. We are on double Dingirsu Orcust of the Evening Star. You can just slap this on top of a link monster and kind of completely just not have to worry about hard making it. On summon, you can either send a card your opponent controls to the grave or attach a card. This is still one of the better pieces of extra deck removal that's super easy to bring out, because it just sends a card. It doesn't target, it doesn't destroy, you just send it. So this can out almost anything except for a towers, but this card is incredibly powerful, and it can also recycle your resources from your banish zone, meaning that you can access resources that you might have lost previously and just put it on the field instead of where Galatea and Longirsu will shuffle them into deck. This will put it in an area where it's easily accessible. And then lastly for XEs, we are on 1 Typhon Sky Crisis. It's kind of a format staple. It really lets us go second a lot more easily. That's it for our XEs. Now onto our fusions. We are on 1 Hugin of the Runick Wings. We're only going to be making the Runick card once. The Runicks don't need any Runick extra cards in order to function, so we only need to make Hugin once. So we're just playing the 1. If they want to rip it out of our extra deck, that's fine by us, because we can just play Orcust with the Runick cards in there. because the Runick cards do play very low to the ground, similar to the Sky Striker cards. We are on 1 Sprint the Iron Dash Dragon as our Branded and High Spirits targets for all of our Orcust cards. No kit in the deck. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a brick, and we really don't want to be seeing it in our opener because it doesn't translate as a Branded and High Spirit target. We are on double Guggenol, the Dusk Dragon. This is a card that we really want to be fusing using Cartesia that lets us access our Orcust Engine by sending Orcust Nightmare to the graveyard on summon. It does let us access the last card in our extra deck as well, but we're running 2 of it because this is a 2500 attack, level 8 fusion monster that's a spellcaster, which means we can send a Cartesia to search a Quem, we can send an Effective Veiler to search a Quem, we can send Drone Lockbird to search a Quem or a Cartesia or whatever. So this really lets us search our deck for functionally everything, and it even loads a graveyard with a card that we do want engraved. And the reason we want to engrave is for our last card, Despian Lulu Willilith. This is just an extra deck negate functionally. When a card leaves the extra deck, you can target a monster your opponent controls and negates effects, and then all monsters you control gain 500 attack permanently. And then it has a graveyard effect where it can float into either Quem or Cartesia from your deck, but most of the time, by the time you would be using that, you are dark locked, so you can't, which is unfortunate that you don't get access to that, but this is really a card that really makes some decks shiver. Virtual World can't really do too much against this. However, like Fluwunderies, again, this doesn't do anything against. Now onto our side deck. We're on double Fantastical Dragon Phantasme for our link decks, such as the Fire decks, because SP does target, so we can punish that. We're on double DD Crow for graveyard decks, such as Mirror Matches, as well as Labyrinth. And then lastly, we're on double Nibiru for combo heavy and rogue decks. That's the reason for Nibiru. I really like Nibiru. It's a light monster, and it does come in handy in a lot of decks, not just Cyber Dragon. For our spells and trap removal, we are on double Runick Destruction, making 3 total in main and side for spell traps, and then as well as 1 Twin Twister in order if we need to discard a card for our Orcust cards, as well as popping additional cards without using our ability to attack. Also for spell and trap removal, although this is technically board breaking, we are on triple Evenly Matched as well, again for Labyrinth. And then the last 3 cards of our side deck are going to be triple copies of Forbidden Droplet for the Mandium, for the Mana Dome matchup. And I don't know the name of them, to be honest. This is for those guys. I know they do set up a counter trap. However, we do have the ability to open traps, and we will be setting evenly with them too. So there is the possibility where we could just do that, or we could fiend out the counter trap and just avoid it altogether. Alrighty guys, welcome back. For this basic combo, it's just going to be Quem, any way to get to Quem, and any Runick card, doesn't matter. So for this combo, we're going to normal summon Quem. We're going to activate Quem's effect. For the purposes of this combo, the graveyard's just going to be located right over here. We're going to send Cartesia to the grave. Then we're going to activate our Runick Dispelling or whatever Runick card to special summon Hugin from the extra deck. Here we can choose to activate Hugin effect, but it's not needed for the combo. Quem is going to trigger here. Let's get a special summon our Cartesia from the grave. We're going to go Cartesia effect. We're going to fuse Cartesia and Hugin. We would summon our Guggenol from our extra, since that is a light and a light, being Cartesia and then Hugin. Guggenol would activate on summon. We're going to dump Orcust Nightmare. Now we can activate Orcust Nightmare. Now we're going to be dark locked. We're going to target Guggenol. We're going to send Orcust Harpor. We're going to activate our Orcust Harpor, especially summon Orcust from our deck. Summoning Orcust Girsu. We're going to activate Girsu on summon. We're going to send a Symbol Skeleton. And now we can kind of get off to the races. We can go Girsu plus Guggenol to get that into grave. We're going to go into our Galatea. We can go Galatea effect. We can put our Harpor back into the deck so we can have access to it again in order to set our Babel from our deck, which then we can immediately activate. So now we have quick effect Orcus on our grave and field. Next, we're going to go Orcust Symbol Skeleton. We're going to banish it. We're going to special summon our Girsu from our graveyard. I know that seems a little bit weird, but just trust me. We have a method to the madness. We're going to go Ding Girsu now. Doesn't really have to be in the extra monster zone, but it can be. And we're going to attach this Symbol Skeleton that we just banished to the Ding Girsu. We're going to link the Ding Girsu and the Girsu away to make our final card, an IP Masquerena. Seems a little unassuming, I know, but off of 2 cards here, we have an IP Masquerena that can trigger on our opponent's turn immediately to make an SP using it and the Quem if need be. We can also make a Nightmare Unicorn also if we need to pitch a card. In the moment we link summon a link card, if we're not using Quem, we can summon that Cartesia back from the grave. We do have a second Guggenol in our extra deck, so we can just do it again and dump another Nightmare in order to get our entire resource loop right back. At the end of our turn, we will be getting this Cartesia back to our hand since a fusion card was sent to the grave, so we do have 1 card in hand now. So we don't even... At the end of our turn, we can choose to get the Cartesia back to our hand. If we do, we get a card in hand that we can use. Otherwise, we'll have Quem accessible to bring the Cartesia back. So this is what I was saying about decisions. So we could bring it back, or we could bring it to our hand. It just is dependent. In our grave, we do have access to our Symbol Skeleton. On our opponent's turn, we can bring back Galatea in order to set another card. We can bring back Girsu in order to dump a card, or we can bring back Ding Girsu in order to attach or send a card. IP Masquerena does function as an interaction as well, again with Blazing Cartesia. If we do make our, if we do need to use our Quem, we do need to try and do it without using any of our Orcust cards first. So more than likely how that would occur is if our opponent summoned a monster, we'd Guggenol. So the main way that we would be triggering our Quem and IP Masquerena without doing our Orcust plays first is by if our opponent special summons a monster using their monster's effect. We can banish our Guggenol in order to special summon our Lulu. And then since we summoned a Lulu, Quem is then going to trigger, summoning our Cartesia, and then we can use Cartesia and Quem, because the Cartesia is a quick effect fuse, in order to go into a secondary Guggenol and then get off to the races without using any of our Orcust effects. So that's the basics behind that combo. And we do, again, we will be able to send Orcust Nightmare from our deck to the grave in order to send a Harp. That wasn't Harp. In order to send a Harp, the special summon from our deck another Girsu in order to dump another card on our opponent's turn, just keeping up the resource loop. Again, this is all of our Orcust cards. This is not mentioning any other Runick cards that we open in our hand. Alright guys, so you saw the profile. Let us get into test hands. Let's make sure we are shuffled up. Alright, now that we are all shuffled up, our hand will be Foolish Burial, always good, full Orcust combo. Orcust Nightmare, that's alright. Blazing Cartesia, that's fantastic compared to that, combined with that Nightmare. One World Wand, which is actually not that great. It means we have to choose either the Nightmare or the World Wand to get rid of with the Cartesia, which means depending on this last draw, if we get another Nightmare, it might not be that great because then we won't have access to World Wand since we're not running Brass Bombard and a Veiler, so we are all good on that front. So this is no Runick stuff, this is just basic Orcust Cartesia. We're gonna get started off. We are going to normal summon our Cartesia. We're going to activate the effect. We're going to fuse off with our World Wand. We are going to make our Guggenol. We're going to activate Guggenol's effect. That's the reason we didn't send Nightmare, because we only have one World Wand, but Guggenol has to send Nightmare in this situation. So we're going to send Nightmare. We're then going to activate that Nightmare. We're going to target our own Guggenol. We're going to send a card from our deck to the grave, a Dark Machine, and Guggenol is going to gain attack. Alright, so off of Nightmare, we're going to dump a Harp Horror. We're we're immediately going to use that Harpore's effect. We're going to special summon a Gearshoe from our deck, and we're going to activate the Gearshoe's effect. We're going to dump that last Orcust into the graveyard. We're going to get that Symbol Skeleton in there. I'm just putting the graveyard in the upper left so it's easy to see for viewing purposes. Now that that's all done with, we can link this Gregogonol and the Gearshoe off to make ourselves a Galatea. We're going to activate the Galatea. We're going to put the Harpore back into our deck, and we're going to set our field spell from our deck to our field. We are going to set that Babble. Then we are going to activate our World Legacy World Wand here. We're going to banish it. We're going to target our Nightmare to special summon it. Now we're going to special summon Gearshoe from our extra deck using Galatea as material. We can choose to move it out of the link zone if we want to, while not really necessary. And we're going to reattach that World Wand so we can use it again next turn. Well, the main reason we're going to be doing this is to link these two off while getting Galatea in the graveyard for the link summon of an IP Masquerena. Because you can't use link monsters for it, so we have to make a ding. And then lastly, we are going to activate our Orcust Symbol Skeleton in Grave. We are going to bring back our Galatea at link point. And then as our final action on turn, we are going to activate our Foolish Burial for the next turn, since we do have Babble up, so this is just setting up. And we are going to dump from our deck to our grave. We have the option to either dump Harpore or Symbol Skeleton here. However, we're going to be dumping Symbol Skeleton just so we have the ability to be more reactive if our opponents are trying to interact with our Babble. For example, with Cosmic Cyclone and such, we can shotgun the skeleton to bring back a ding to attach a material, and so on and so forth. And so at the end of the turn, we're ending off with a Galatea able to set either the draw spell to get this Nightmare out of our hand. Our Cartesia will be adding itself back to our hand at the end phase because the fusion was sent there. So we are ending with Galatea being able to set the draw spell or the crescendo for our turn. IP Masquerena able to link off into Nightmare Unicorn, Long Gearshoe, or SP Little Knight. We have the graveyard effects of Symbol Skeleton to bring back Gearshoe. We have Nightmare to dump Harpore. We have World Wand to bring back cards on our turn, and we have Gregogonol. If we haven't committed to the Orcust, we can special summon the Despia from our extra deck. So, and we have Veiler, of course. So we do have quite a few bit of interaction and flexibility, although all of it is atypical. So that's the way this deck plays differently in comparative to all the other decks. Next hand. Alright, shuffling up for our next test hand. Alright. Shuffling almost complete, and let's get this next test hand started. We're going to do one more after that. We're going to start. We got a Runick tip, so we get access to the Runick portion of our deck. We have Symbol Skeleton. We have Branded in High Spirits. I see these casting shadows this way. World Wand again, not fantastic. And Slumber. Well, we can do something with this. So what we're actually going to be doing is in our standby phase to play around Droll, we're going to go Branded in High Spirits. We're going to reveal our World Legacy World Wand. And we're going to send it to the grave along with our Sprind, our Machine Fusion with 2500 attack. Just making sure it's attack. And we're going to send these to the grave to search our deck for a card that mentions Albaz and put it into our hand. Grabbing us Guiding Quem the Virtuous. So we already have one Orcust card in grave down. Next, we are going to move to our main, and we're going to normal summon our Quem, and we're going to activate that Quem effect to dump a card that mentions Albaz. So What's the only other one we're playing? Cartesia. We're going to dump our Cartesia. That's just going to be chilling there. Then we are going to activate our Runick Slumber to special summon the Runick card from our extra. We are going to special summon Hugian to our extra monster zone. And we are going to go Chain Link 1 Hugian, pitching Symbol Skeleton. Chain Link 2 Quem, target Cartesia to special summon. So Cartesia is going to be summoned, and then Hugian is going to search our field spell. We're going to get our Runick Fountain, which means we're not really going to be ending on Babel on this hand. This is more going to be a Runick hand, which is going to be interesting. We get our Runick Fountain to our hand. This is going to go to our graveyard for fodder for our fountain. We're going to go ahead and we're going to activate that fountain. We're just going to put that up there just to get that out of the way. Just fixing the sleeve. We are going to go ahead and we're going to go through our Orcust combos first before we get into our Runick combos, just so we have a higher likelihood of drawing into more of the Runick spell traps. So we're going to go Cartesia here. We're going to fuse Cartesia off and Hugian, because Hugian is a light. We are going to special summon Greguganol. We are going to go Greguganol here. We are going to send Nightmare. And we still are not dark blocked here, which is interesting, but we're not playing Bystials, so we're going to go Nightmare. We're going to target our Quem, because that's the one that's actually going to be staying on board at the very end if it actually matters. We're going to be dumping our Harpour, and we're going to immediately shotgun that. I'm just going to banish that, and we're going to special summon our Girsu, the Orcust Mekhnate, and Girsu is going to trigger. We already functionally have everything we could ever want in Graveyard at this exact moment. So the most we could really be sending to grave is a secondary Symbol Skeleton, just prepping for us knowing we're going to be using it this turn, because we don't have access to it on our opponent's turn. Like, that's pretty much a guarantee. We are going to go Girsu and Grag. I think I'm just going to start calling it that, to be honest. We're going to go Galatea, make sure it's pointing to the Quem. That is important sometimes. And we'll go Galatea. We'll put our Harpour right back into our deck. And again, we're deck thinning still by just setting cards and such. So we are just tutoring our deck in ways that aren't necessarily adding it. We're setting cards, we're sending them to the graveyard. Not once have we added a card except for Fountain. Fountain was the only time they could have used Droll on us. And it doesn't stop anything we're doing now or anything we plan to do for the rest of the turn in relation to the Orcust engine. So being able to play the secondary engine that just kind of plays around Droll naturally is quite nice. So we're going to send a Crescendo. We are going to still be making Ding Girsu here, which is quite interesting. Yeah, we're going to be making... Yeah. So for Ding, we're going to... we're just going to take this Galatea. We are going to slap that Ding on the Galatea, putting the Nightmare right back underneath of it. We're going to go Symbol Skeleton in the graveyard. We are going to special summon. It doesn't really matter which one. We're just going to special summon Girsu because it's the same card on Ding Girsu. It's the same card. Look at all their details. I didn't notice that until just the other day. We'll send those two to the grave, and instead of making an IP Masquerena here, we're actually just going to be making another Galatea so we can keep that Crescendo live, because here we're going to be going Runick Tip to search a Runick. So for Runick Tip, and now we can't commit our battle phase this turn, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now we have choices. If we know what our opponent's on, it makes our choices a lot easier, because we know what we want to be fetching. But if we don't really be knowing, I'd say typically it's going to be a mix between Flashing Fire and Freezing Curses, just what you're more scared of given your current board state. Like, we don't have removal based on Ding Girsu, so I'm going to be grabbing Flashing Fire because we do have negation in our that card. We are only playing one Hugian, which is a little sussy, but because of that, we're only going to be, once we use one for the Hugian effect, all the other ones, we're only going to be using it for this actual card text effect. So right here, we're going to go Runick Fountain. We're going to get Runick Tip, and we are going to get Runick Slumber. We are going to put these back into our deck. And we're going to shuffle. Alright, and since we put 2 back, we get to draw 2. Being a Droll and Lockbird, and another Droll and Lockbird. Alrighty, so we can pass the turn here. We don't even need to set the Runick Flashing Fire because of our fountain. So on our opponent's turn, we have a Crescendo. Our Galatea can't be run over by battle. We have a Flashing Fire, a Droll and Lockbird. And if our opponent summons anything from the extra deck, we can go Quem to special summon back our Cartesia that we purposely left in the graveyard in order to fuse Quem and Cartesia or Galatea and this to make another Greguganol to send whatever we might need from either our extra or our deck. As well as we do have, again, the Greguganol in our graveyard. Where is it? There it is. And we're not going to really be dark locked on our opponent's turn this time. So this is a lot more live now than it was on our previous hand. Next hand. Alright, just shuffling this last one up a bit. We're going to do this last one. That's going to be it. Unless y'all want to see more. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the Discord. Speaking of Discord, let me put the QR code up here as my shill of the day. Alrighty, here's our final hand. Shuffled up. Droll. Called by. Veiler. Uh-oh. Symbol Skeleton. Uh-oh. And the hand is saved by high spirits once more. I feel so vindicated. Alright, so looking at this hand for a moment, we're going to actually go Branded in high spirits in our standby. We're going to go Orcust Symbol Skeleton to the grave. We are going to send a Sprind from our hand to the grave. We're not going to go the Quem route this time because we don't have any way to get a monster on our side of the field from our extra deck without using our normal summon and without using our Quem as material for it. So we are not going to be doing that. So we are just going to be grabbing a Cartesia like we would in our normal combo. We're going to normal summon that Cartesia and we're going to activate that effect because we do still have that light effect Veiler in hand. So we can fuse those two. We can make a Greguganol. And then we can activate this, and this is going to be our full Orcust combo all by itself. So I'm going to walk you through that. We're going to go send that. Activate Nightmare. I'm just going to skip this one step here because I'm just going to send Harp Horror and then immediately banish it to special summon an Orcust from our deck. We are dark locked now. We're going to special summon Girsu. Here we have the option to either special summon Symbol Skeleton or we can special summon World Wand. I prefer personally to be sending Skeleton. However, it functionally does the same thing. It just plays around slightly different things. Like Symbol Skeleton is going to be able to activate at a quick effect as long as you have the field spell up, and I personally have a preference toward the field spell, so I'm going to want to be getting that up more frequently, meaning Skeleton is going to be a better send than World 1 most of the times in my play testing. So we're going to dump that Skeleton to the grave. We are going to go Girsu and Greguganol here. We are going to make our Galatea. We're going to go Galatea. We're going to put our Harp Horror back. We are going to, like I was just mentioning with the field spell, we're going to set my favorite field spell, Orchestrated Babble, to our side of the field. And that's very nice because of this. All this is also insulated by a Called By, so that even stops D-Shifter and such. Here we're going to be going Orcust Symbol Skeleton. We're going to do it a little bit preemptively for this combo to bring out this Girsu the Orcust Mech Knight. We're doing it preemptively because we do need to maintain that Symbol Skeleton in grave. Of course, we can maintain it with the Orcust Nightmare. However, we want to go through as little steps as possible, so it'd be better to just retain the Symbol Skeleton on default value. Oh, that is not Dingirsu. Just going to put that over. We're going to go this. We're going to attach that Symbol Skeleton, and then we're going to use those two immediately to make an IP Masquerena. We're going to set our Called By the Grave. At the end phase of our turn, Cartesia will be adding herself right back to our hand. So our hand is going to be Droll and Lockbird, Cartesia. We have a Called By the Grave. On our opponent's turn, we can bring this back and bring back a Dingirsu on our opponent's turn, and then we can link off into SP Little Knight Or if we want to hold off, again, we have the Gregor Godal engrave, so we can get access to Lulu with Lilith. Thank you guys so much for watching, if you still are, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye. Thank y'all so much for watching the video, it really means a lot. If you want to talk to other Yu-Gi-Oh players in a competitive manner, please feel free to check out my Discord. We are still growing, but we would love to have you, and we plan to do some events sometime soon. You will also be able to do cool stuff like vote on future videos and topics of videos, so swing by sometime and check us out. I also started a Patreon, so that'll be linked in the description of my videos from now on. Donating would mean a lot and would help in producing these videos. Right now, there's only one tier, being Tier 1 Femboy. This tier includes access to an exclusive Discord channel where you'll be able to talk amongst other femboys and have access to discussions with me as well as getting a shout out in every video following your patronage. Thank you so much for all your support.